So it starts, as JJ indicated, with farmers' commitment to being sustainable. And so we suggested and decided to utilize resources from the Commodity Credit Corporation to establish a fund of $3 billion. And we asked farmers what they would do with that resource to embrace sustainable practices. And this farm family is one of the families that stepped up. They said make it voluntary, make it incentive driven, help pay for the practices that you want to encourage, and create a market opportunity where we might receive a premium for whatever it is we're producing through sustainable practices. So that's exactly what we've done. We have currently today 136 out of 141 contracts that we've signed that are implementing. Thousands of farmers, millions of acres now engaged in this. In the state of Wisconsin, we have 27 projects available to farmers covering 44 commodities that are grown in this state, and encouraging and paying farmers to do 118 separate climate smart practices, everything from cover crops, rotational grazing, things of that nature, nutrient management. So we're paying farmers to conduct climate smart agricultural practices. And then we are working with markets to create a value-added proposition for whatever it is the climate smart crop or commodity produces. Last month, I was in, I think it was in Missouri, where we were talking about a new rice product that was produced in Louisiana and Arkansas. It was produced with 1/2 less water and 1/2 less methane than traditional rice production. Columbia Brand, which is a company that sells rice on the commercial market, is paying a premium to those farmers to embrace these climate practices, and is also paying the farmer an additional price above and beyond the traditional rice price. For that, they purchased 50 million pounds of it to commercialize it. It's the first commercial product we've had from these 136. So this is a new value-added opportunity that didn't exist but does today, and is funded for the next 3 to 5 years. We're going to measure, monitor, report, and verify the results. What folks like Bagel Family, they will be able to tell you at some point in time, by virtue of everything they're doing, that their dairy operation is operating at X% greenhouse gas reduction, X% of carbon sequestration, whatever it might be, and they might be able to say we're operating at a net zero or maybe even a negative carbon footprint, because they're going to be able to measure, monitor, and verify the impacts of all the things they're doing on this farm. Now, when you can measure, monitor, and report and verify something, you can sell it. That creates the opportunity for this family and families like them across the country to be able to go to ecosystem service markets. These are industries, these are foundations, these are organizations that will pay for the very results these people are able to obtain by essentially recycling their manure. They will pay this family and families across the country for the environmental results that only farmers can produce. Because if you're talking about sequestering carbon, you need to have land, and farmers are the ones who have the land. That's where the carbon can be stored. This is a new income source that hasn't existed, that will exist over the course of time. This is a family that understands the necessity and the opportunity that waste product creates. Not only does it create the opportunity to fertilize your field, but if you're smart about it, it can create a series of bioproducts. And so what we're doing with Climate Smart Agriculture is there are a number of projects in which we are transitioning agricultural waste into new products that either didn't exist or allowing farmers to reduce the cost of their operation. In this case, the family is using it for fertilizer. They're going to be able to eventually be able to sell some of that organic fertilizer to those who need it. And they mentioned the future opportunities that may be created with pelletizing the fertilizer that they don't need for their own operation. They can also potentially work, as many are, to convert that into things like sustainable aviation fuel. This is a 36 billion gallon industry that does not exist today, but will exist over the next 5 to 10 years. If you do the math, ethanol is 15 billion, biofuels 30, sustainable aviation fuels 36 billion. It's a twofold increase in that business. That's a business that currently supports 400,000 jobs. So we're talking nearly 1 million additional jobs in rural places, and the opportunity to create a new commodity through agricultural waste that creates a new income source for farmers. There's also a huge opportunity with a tax credit to produce this sustainable aviation fuel, and we've recently begun the process of making sure that sustainable agricultural practices will qualify for that tax credit. So tremendous opportunity here. This family is poised to take advantage of this, poised to take advantage of this. Now, the one thing they haven't taken advantage of, but they probably will now that they've had a conversation with me today, is renewable energy. There's an opportunity through the Renewable Energy for America program to receive grants or loans from the Department of Agriculture to install a solar system, a wind system, a biodigester, a geothermal system to be able to reduce your costs of electricity and power that operates your facility. But the reality is farmers can produce more than they need on their farm. And we're working with RECs and municipal utilities under a program called PACE, P-A-C-E, and New Era. We're going to give these companies $10.7 billion to assist them in transitioning from a energy production portfolio based on fossil fuels to one that is based on more bio and renewable fuels. So now farmers can essentially aggregate excess energy that they produce on the farm. Their costs are down for themselves, but now they can then sell that to the REC. That becomes a new commodity for the farmer, a new source of income, and it also helps to lower the cost to all of the customers of that REC. This is a new income source that hasn't existed, that will exist. So all of this is in the climate smart area, a value-added opportunity and lower costs, a new income source with credits, a new income source with new commodities being transitioned from waste into something more valuable, and renewable energy creating new opportunities for a new commodity as well. So instead of just simply selling a commodity, you now have 1, 2, 3, 4 opportunities. Now, in addition to this, you also have the local and regional food system opportunities. Now, why is it that this farm family is producing cheese? Well, there are a couple of reasons. One, they're in Wisconsin, and I guess that's like a birthright. You have to produce cheese in Wisconsin. I got that. 2, they're doing it because they recognize it's a value-added proposition. They recognize this, that when their milk gets turned into cheese by somebody else, they might get 20 cents of every food dollar. That's basically what a farmer gets. Every time you go to the grocery store, you slap a buck on the counter for your groceries, ask yourself, how much does a farmer get from that product that just went through the scanner? About 20 cents on average. And some years it's 15 cents, some years it's 22 cents. It's 20 cents. Ask yourself, who gets the other 80 cents? It's the people who do the fancy boxes, you know, with the beautiful artwork on them that you can't figure out whether you're buying the regular Triscuits or different types of Triscuits. It's those people. It's the people who package. It's the people who truck. It's the people who process. It's the people who stock, who essentially retail. It's all those people in the supply chain. They get a piece of that 80 cents. Farmer gets 20 cents. But when this family sells their cheese, they're going to get a higher percentage because there aren't the middlemen. They're the ones processing. They're the ones packaging. So at the end of the day, they don't get 20 cents. They may get 50 cents or 75 cents. So we invested and have invested resources in processing meat and poultry, as well as we've provided the Secretary of Agriculture resources to help processing here for non-meat and poultry processing, as well as cold storage and warehousing opportunities and grants. We've created, as he mentioned, the local food purchasing opportunities, where we're trying to create that local supply chain so that what's being produced here in Wisconsin can be sold here in Wisconsin, so farmers get a better bang for the buck. And all told, between processing, about $1 billion. In Wisconsin, we funded 15 projects, investing about $24 million in processing here just in Wisconsin. We've invested about $29 million in local and regional food systems and procurement. And of course, I've mentioned the fact that we're all engaged in fertilizer. So we've invested in every single one of these. And here in Wisconsin on the REAP program, we've done 196 projects for farmers across the state of Wisconsin. About $10 billion, $20 million in renewable energy projects. So we've invested in Wisconsin in every single one of these boxes. And this family has invested in virtually every single one of these boxes. So let me just finish with this. Why is this important? I think it's important because there are two conversations that can take place on a family farm like this one. There's a conversation where the parents or the grandparents bring the kids and the grandkids in and essentially say, as far too often has been the case since 1981, we just can't quite figure out how to make it. And we're going to have to sell. And here's what I know about the farmers that are in this audience. When I ask you what you do, and you tell me you're a farmer, that tells me not just what you do, it tells me who you are. I don't know there's another occupation that's true. You ask me what I do, I tell you I'm a lawyer, that tells you what I do. It doesn't necessarily tell you who I am. I know that farmers are rooted in the land, and the last thing they want to do is to have that conversation. They would prefer to have the conversation in which they say, you know, with a little bit of entrepreneurship and a little bit of help, maybe we can create multiple streams of revenue that will support multiple families. And it seems to me that this country is smart enough and wealthy enough and innovative enough and creative enough to be able to create a system like this so that farmers and farm families have options. But it's not just get big or get out. It's actually, we can make it. Now, what's the benefit to the country when you do that? Well, here's the benefit. The benefit is that we don't lose that farmland to concrete. We have small communities that are thriving, small communities that can support their local school, their local businesses owned by local folks. It's not just a dollar store and a Walmart. They can have a hospital, enough people to support a doc, and their kids have the opportunity to stay and raise their families in a place that they love and are connected to. The country benefits because when we have more of those small towns thriving, and we have more of those farm families being able to continue to do what they love to do, we have more young men and women who are willing to serve the military. A disproportionate number of those who serve the military come from these small rural communities. And they do it because they learn something very specific from the people who have lived here and who raise crops here and raise livestock here. There's not a single farmer that I know that doesn't understand this. You've got to give back to that which gives to you. You got to give back to the land, don't you? Because if you stop giving to it, it's going to stop giving to you. It's going to be less productive over time. So you replenish it, you re-nourish it. When kids understand that principle, they look at this country and they go, you know, this is a country that gives us enormous opportunity. I'm exhibit A of that. I started out life in an orphanage. And I'm here today talking to you as Secretary of Agriculture. This is truly a great country. We all understand that. So those of us who understand that there's a responsibility to give back. So the country's better off because there are more of those young people willing to give back. Rural communities are better off because they can support the small businesses that are a lifeblood and the small family farms that are the lifeblood of that small community. The family farm is better off because it can continue to be a family farm. And we're better off as a country because we have a more resilient system that offers opportunities, small, mid-sized, or large. So this family is an example of what can be and what should, in mind, and what should be. So we're going to hear from panelists who will also engage in a number of different